Hey SaaS people, it's Caleb from Encharge.io, and I'm creating this video in response to popular demand. I published a few weeks ago an article on how to create a trigger-based email onboarding flow for your SaaS, and there were a few people that actually wanted to see a video out of this article. So in this video, in the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide on how to create a trigger-based email onboarding flow for your software as a service product. It's going to be a very sweet, short, and very actionable guide, so stay with me. So first of all, who is this video for? This guide is meant for early to middle stage software as a SaaS companies that have either free trial or freemium self-serve onboarding model. Or maybe people that are just launching their product and have no onboarding emails whatsoever, or people that want to improve their trial conversion rate with trigger-based, action-based emails. So emails that are based on actions of your users in your app. So you might have time-based emails like a welcome email or time-based trial expiration email a couple of days before a trial ends. With this flow, you'd be able to send trigger emails when people do or don't do something in your app. So what is our, first of all, second, actually, what do you need for this trigger-based email onboarding flow? You need the Google Docs where you can write the copy of your emails. You would need the free segment.com account. Segment is a data piping tool that allows you to send these events, these user events or actions from your app to other apps, marketing apps like Encharge. And the thing with Segment is that your developers only integrate it once, and once the data is there, once the user events are going through Segment, they will be sent to other tools without any additional development. So you would need some developers, so a little bit of development resources to integrate these events with Segment. Next thing is you're going to need Encharge.io account, and this is, if you haven't heard of Encharge, we're marketing automation software for SaaS companies. And that's more or less it. So what's our action plan? How we're going to create these trigger-based emails? There are 5 steps. First step is to identify the user actions that we want to track. So user actions that we're going to use in our trigger-based email flow. Second, you want to create the free segment.com account and create a tracking plan. We're going to explain what a tracking plan is and send that tracking plan to your developers so they can implement events. Third step is to map, to create the action trigger flow in Encharge. Then obviously you need to write the onboarding emails in terms of copy and content. And the last step is to turn on the flow and get your emails up and running. So let's start with the first step. Identify the user actions that we need to track. So what are user actions? These are called aha moments or value moments. So these are the critical activities that every user needs to do in your app. And let's take, for example, in this guide, we're going to take an example with Verimark, which is an HR reference check, background check software. So there are a few critical events that they want to track. First of all, they want to track who signs up. So when a person signs up for their app, they want to track when a user submits a request. So a request is when the employer sends a reference check request to the employee. And then number 3, in terms of events, activities, we want to track when the employee completes a reference check. This is when the customer of Verimark experiences value in the product and reaches the so-called aha moment. So going back to our plan, this is pretty much what all step number 1 is about. You need to identify the critical steps in your onboarding flow, the actions that every user needs to complete in order to become a paying customer. Once you have this in mind, and important note here is don't try to map, to track every single event in your app. Again, you only need the critical value moments, the critical activities. Once you have those in mind, the next step is to create a segment.com tracking plan and get your developer to implement these events. In other words, we want to create a plan that we're going to show to our developer, and this is how this event tracking plan works. We're going to show this event tracking plan to our developers, and we're going to say, look, these are the events, these are the user actions that we want to track, because as a marketer or as a product person, I need these events to create marketing automation flows or whatever. They will be sent to Segment, and Segment will send these events to Encharge.io. So the event tracking plan is basically a spreadsheet. That's all it is. It's a spreadsheet that you just jot down, you write down the events that you want to track. So in the previous step, we identified that we want to track who have signed up for the app, who have signed up for Verimark. We want to track who has sent the request, and we also want to track request criteria met. So when and the employee submits the request and the criteria is met. So these are the three critical actions we want to track. And it's also always good to have logged in event, because we might want to do some stuff with people logging in. Once we write down these events, we want to explain what the event is all about. So why we actually want to track this event. And this is just to give some hints to your developers so they know what the event is about and they understand what you're actually tracking. So send request, this is our active event or critical value moment event to start getting value out of Verimark. Now, one needs to send a request. Request criteria met indicates that the user received value from Verimark, or it's like the last value moment in the onboarding process. And obviously, we also want to make sure they understand that we need signed up. So we want to get the data from when a user signs up in the app. And the next field that you want to complete is something called properties. So properties are data attributes that a specific event sends from your app to Segment, and then Segment sends to Encharge. So in the case of signed up, because the user signs up, we need the name of the user, and we also know when the user has signed up. We want to know the start, and we can use that attribute in our marketing automation flow. The next thing is we want to map the properties for send request and request criteria met. And for send request, you want to know the request ID. We want to know the number of checks they met, if it's a reference check, if it's an employment check, national ID check, and these are specific properties for Verimark. So for your software, there might be completely different properties. And again, these are just the data attributes that you want to get this data flowing to Encharge. And you can later use these data attributes as custom fields or use them in your marketing automation flow. And that's all you need to do in this event tracking plan. Everything else here, the property values, location, JS, API code, and all this development stuff is really for the developers. But this really gives them the idea what they need to integrate. So you go to your developer, you send them this doc, they take some time, usually takes a couple of days, might take longer depending on how busy your developers are. They come back to you and they say, look, the events are up and running, you can do whatever you want with the events. And usually when they're done with that, they're gonna mark these fields as yes, yes, yes. So that's step number 2. Then we go to step number 3, which is the most exciting step. And this is how to create action trigger flow in Encharge. So once you have your free trial with Encharge, if you are not a user or customer yet, you go in Encharge and you create a new marketing flow. And this is how creating flows in Encharge work. It's a visual drag and drop builder that you just drag and drop steps and you create flows in it. And what you want to do here is we already integrated with Segment, and since Encharge has a native Segment integration, we're going to use the segment events to create a flow. And once we know, again, from step one, the critical events, what we want to do here is create a tag flow. So I'm going to call this flow tag flow. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop a trigger. So triggers are the steps that initiate flows. Actions are steps that do something like send an email or add a tag and stuff like that. So what I want to do here is tag each action in the app with a tag in charge. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use, and I need to implement segment. And once you integrate with segment, you'll be able to just copy paste the name of the event from your tracking plan. And this is going to be the exact same event. It's case sensitive as well. And I'm just gonna copy paste that event, signed up, for example. Gonna click on save. And I'm going to add a tag here. And I'm going to add a tag, for example, signed up. So every time someone signs up in my app, that at segment.com, so your app will send the data to segment.com, and segment.com will send that data to InCharge. So every time when someone signs up in your app, they will get in InCharge. So they will be created as a user in InCharge. And we're going to tag them with a tag signed up. So we can later create segments out of that tag. We can see a segment with all people that have signed up, have that tag. We also want to do the exact same thing with the other two critical events. So with send request and with request criteria met. So send request, I want to tag send request tag, and I want to do the exact same thing, and I'm not going to do it because I think you already got the gist of it. But when someone sends a request in Verimark, now they will be tagged in InCharge with send request, and I can do a lot of many things with that already in place. So once we have that tag flow up and running, you want to activate that flow. I'm not going to activate it right now, but obviously you need to have it activated to actually get it up and running. I want to create my actual marketing automation flow. And by the end of this, I'm going to have something that looks a little bit like this. And this is an example of flows. There are many ways, literally hundreds and thousands of ways to create flows, but this is an example of powerful marketing automation flow. So let me explain briefly what's going on here. So first we have an event. When someone signs up, we want to send them a welcome email. That's something we want to do, and most of the SaaS companies, if not all SaaS companies, do that. So we want to send them a welcome email, just welcome the person, let them know what they should expect from the trial, and stuff like that. Then we're going to wait for a few hours, and we're going to use a filter step. Filter steps are steps that put people in different buckets or swimming lanes. And we actually are going to check if they have completed an action, if they send a request. So we're going to check if they have the tag send request. If they don't have the tag send request, we're going to send them a nudge or push email and get the person to go back to the app and create their first request, because this is what we want them. We want all of users to get all of the users to do, right? We have these critical events, and we want every single trial user to submit a request and to get their employees request criteria met, right? So these are the two critical actions we want to do. So this is what we're doing here with the filter. If they haven't sent a request, we're going to send them a nudge email. But if they've already sent a request, so we've already reached that value moment, then we want to check the next value moment, the next most critical value moment, and this is request criteria met. And again, if there's no request criteria met, we want to send them another email that provides more value, that explains the benefits of your software, that shows how your software solved the problems for them, and we want to get them back to the app. But if there's a request criteria met, then they've achieved all of the critical value moments, right, in their trial. So we don't need to wait 7 or 14 or 30 days to send an upgrade email. And what we're going to do in that case is we're going to send them a sales upgrade email. So let me give you an example of what happens. So let's say I'm a user. I go to Verimark.com, I start my trial. Then I receive a welcome email. And let's say I don't do anything in Verimark. What's going to happen is the app will wait 3 hours, and then it's going to check if I have submitted a request. And if I haven't submitted a request, the app will send me an email. That's Encharge, actually. Encharge will send an email that says something like, I see you just signed up for Verimark, but you haven't created your first request. Requests are really crucial for improving your reference check and saving your time. So you want to go back to Verimark and create that request right now. And if I haven't opened that email, regardless of whether they have whether they have send a request or not, the flow will wait for 1 day and they will check for the next section. This is just to make sure that we send all of the emails in the sequence and we don't stop the sequence there. So that's one case. Let's look at another case. Let's say I registered for Verimark, I go, and in the first couple of hours, I'm a very active user. I create my first request, and an employee also submits a request. So the request criteria is met. And all that happens in the first 2 hours of creating my account with Verimark. So what's going to happen in that case with a trigger-based flow is I will receive a welcome email, and then Encharge will wait for 3 hours, and they will check and Encharge will check and see that I've sent a request and that the request criteria is met. So in other words, I've achieved all of the most important value moments. So instead of sending me an irrelevant already email about getting me back to the app and submitting my first request, Encharge will actually send me an upgrade email, which would say something like, I've seen that you got your first request met, I see that you experienced value, maybe not in those exact words. Obviously, it will need to be way better, and I can show you the actual copy, but it will send me an upgrade email that will ask me to pay and become a subscriber, paying customer. So this is what we want to create, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to create this in Encharge. At first, and I'm going to do it quite quickly because I think you already understand the gist of it, but this is what it would look like. So I have the signed up event. I'm going to send a welcome email. Welcome email. And this is what actually our welcome email is. So you can kind of get an idea of what you want to create. So explain how the software works, explain what the trial is all about, and then get the person back to the app with a very simple single call to action. So that's our welcome email. The next thing we want to connect these steps. The next thing I want to do is wait for a few hours, maybe wait for 1 day if you wish, and I'm going to check if the person, I'm going to use filter step hashtag, and I'm going to check if the person has sent a request. And if they haven't sent a request, I'm going to send a nudge email. So if send request, hashtag send request is no, so they don't have that tag, I will send them request, maybe not this one, maybe, let me see what I'm going to send them. Account created, but no requests finished, no Gmail. Or I'm going to, in case, sorry, not this one, I'm going to use filter step again. In case they have sent the first request, so yes, if it's yes, I'm going to check if criteria met, request criteria met, if a request criteria has been met. And if no, then again, I want to send a nudge email. In this case, I want to send this email. It's a better life email, showing how the software can make their life better. And what I want to do here is actually wait for 1 day. And regardless of whether they've sent their first request or not, I want to get them back to the flow, because if I don't get them back to the flow will end just here, and they will be, right, they will not continue to the next steps at all. And the last step here is, in case they've completed, so in case they've sent a request, and in case they created, in case request criteria is met, I want to send them the last upgrade email. So this is criteria met sales upgrade email. And in this email, I'm actually explaining how the Vermark pricing works, what can, where people can purchase credits, and a link to the credits page where they can upgrade and become a customer. So that's a really powerful flow that's based on the pace of the customer journey. And that's a trigger-based flow. That's a powerful trigger-based flow that can absolutely increase your conversion rates, trial conversion rates, if you're just using time-based emails now. So go to encharge.io, create your 14-day trial if you don't have one, and try this out, and just give it a go. It will take some time to implement, get the events running with your developers and all that, but trust me, it's all worth it, because once you get this up and running, it's working for you 24/7, and it's helping you convert users to paying customers. So that's our video for today, and I'll speak to you later.